Hey guys, welcome back. So just recently I did a video on the return of Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross as the Red Hulk, where we went over his depowering and repowering and return from the grave with an asterisk. And I have that video linked in the description as well as up in the side card, but in this one I wanted to do a bit of an update to talk about where Thunderbolt Ross is now, closing out 2024. And this comes by way of a short story that appeared in Hulk Legacy issue 800. Which is mainly Hulk issue 19, written by Philip K. Johnson, and I have that full playlist in the description as well. But among the numerous different stories that appeared in Hulk issue 800, the one we're covering today, that focuses on the Red Hulk, it's written by Benjamin Percy, which is probably why I said Benjamin Percy instead of Philip K. Johnson on the last video. I think most people knew what I meant, but just in case, there's a pinned comment on that video for anyone who may have gotten thrown off. So with that said, if you're enjoying these videos, be sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell up top to get all notifications. Alright, so the name of this story is called Prisons, and it starts off 2 years ago in a Russian prison that most people refer to as the Bear, with it being said that this place will eat you up and nobody gets out. And it's here where we find someone being escorted here, while they're more or less being told that the bear is going to eat them up like everyone else, as a way to more or less scare this new prisoner. But as we're given a look deeper inside, we find out that this prison isn't too bad for some people, like one in particular by the name of Gustav Bulgar, who's an arms dealer / terrorist, in here locked up with his own personal phone, flat screen TV, laptop. He's being served steak and wine, and we'll talk more about him in a little bit. But first, when we head back over to the new prisoner, we're told that they were caught after breaking into the police station and going through their files, which is why they're being brought here. But they don't know who this guy is because he doesn't have any ID on him. The only thing they do know is that he has an American accent. So the first thing they assume is that he's a spy. So the next thing they do is pull the cover off his head and ask him, "What's your name?" So he tells them, Ross, Thunderbolt Ross. Just before he headbutts the guy and hulks out of his constraints, only to then properly introduce himself as Red Hulk. And here's the thing, because since our last talk on Thunderbolt Ross, where we saw him return to the US government after the events of Secret Empire, since then, with him being acquitted of his previous crimes, we're now told that he's been allowed certain liberties to carry out missions that serve the US as long as he keeps them in the shadows. And this is just an example of one of those missions with him coming for Gustav, who as it turns out is still an active terrorist and arms dealer. And I gotta tell you, I really like this idea of Thunderbolt Ross being this black op one-man army who more or less handles things the way that he wants to, but I'm just not sure how discreet a Red Hulk can be. Because I mean, the whole look itself is very conspicuous, but we could find out at a later date that he's been doing a lot more than we thought, leading up to this story. But nonetheless, Thunderbolt Ross ends up taking Gustav out of the Russian prison, and he tells him, 3 years ago, you shot down a transport plane full of American soldiers. To de-escalate tensions with the West, Russia imprisoned you, but our intelligence made it clear that this was a ruse. And mind you, this whole time, this dude's just begging for his life. But Thunderbolt Ross goes on to explain, with him saying, your business affairs were still operational. That prison, one of the most impenetrable in the world, wasn't keeping you in. It was keeping the rest of the world out. And there's a moment here where Gustav is just like, what are you? So Ross tells him, I'm a soldier. And dude's like, no, you're a monster. So Ross tells him, a soldier has weapons. What you witnessed was one of them. So Gustav asked, why didn't you kill me before? Is it because you want money? I can give you money. So Ross tells him, no, it's because I have something you lack, Mr. Bulgar. Discretion and honor. I have avoided international escalation by extracting you and eliminating all witnesses. And just as a reminder, in Captain America Volume 9, Issue 26, which is where Thunderbolt Ross regained the ability to turn into the Red Hulk, back at the time when this happened, in Madripoor, there were quite a few people around who were like, okay, what does this mean? Is he about to go off the rails? But rather quickly it was established that Thunderbolt Ross is a patriot first. And the rest of Captain America Volume 9 followed right along with that, with us going on to see Ross as one of the few who could be trusted at Captain America's side, so there's no longer the question of where his loyalty lies. But going forward, and in a way that I would say is very true to who Thaddeus Ross is, it's now painting the picture of him being this patriot who will do whatever it takes to get the job done, which in the past hasn't always been for his country, but in the here and now that's the main focus, or that's his main focus I should say, because he goes on to tell this guy, and we're here now because I wanted to look you in the eye, man to man. I wanted us to have a conversation. I wanted you to know that you are being punished for crimes against the greatest country in the world. And that's the last thing this guy hears before Ross squeezes the trigger and says, God bless America. And following this, we're told Ross has a complicated history with the US military, a disgraced 4-star general in charge of no one but himself. The Air Force has allowed him certain liberties in discretionary funds, as long as he keeps his work in the shadows. He was a one-man operation. No one knew he was here, or so he thought. Here was nothing but white, until there was black, the suffocating black of the cell he awoke in, which just so happens to be a cell in Latveria. And it's funny because when he wakes up, he hears a voice saying, "Rise, Thunderbolt Ross." So of course he's like, "Where am I? Who are you?" So the voice tells him, "You are in your new home in Latveria." So Ross is just like, "My home is and always will be the United States." Which is just hilarious. But then they go on to tell him, "I would accept no other response from one of the great military strategists and staunchest nationalists, which is exactly why you're here. We have so much to talk about." As Doom steps in front of the glass and Thunderbolt Ross is able to see who he's talking to. And the last thing we're told in this story is that it will continue in 2025, which right there lets us know that it's something we'll be picking up during One World Under Doom, where during that event in Red Hulk issue 1, Benjamin Percy will go on to reveal the reasons why Doom captured Thunderbolt Ross as a way to place him in what Percy would call a sort of a think tank, which Doom would use to have Ross test out multiple war scenarios, because Doom knew well before becoming Sorcerer Supreme that he was going to need to get Thunderbolt Ross out of the way. So by doing this, it allows Doom to make use of him at the same time. So yeah, we'll pick up more on this story next year when One World Under Doom begins, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss our coverage. Because much like what we covered here, One World Under Doom has already begun, so I also have that playlist in the description, so we can roll right into 2025 with some extra insight on how Doom set things up way before this event got started. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.